Here's a drone flight looking at an old Alberta Wheat Pool grain elevator. This one here is located in Beiseker, Alberta, which is northeast of Calgary. I filmed this in the first part of July 2026. And the purpose of the video is just to look at the old grain elevators and have a closer look at the structure of them and how they look. There used to be grain elevators all over the whole Western Canada. As you see, there's train tracks beside them, and that was always the case. They were designed to have access for farmers as they're growing grain all across the prairie provinces to be able to bring their grain in and ship it out by rail. But I wanted to have a closer look at this one just because I'd had the chance to do so. And in particular, I had the drone with me, and I could see that there was siding taken off of the elevator, because all of the Alberta Wheat Pool elevators were painted the same color, and they were identifiable for miles and miles and miles, and each one would say on the side of it, this one would have said at one point, Alberta Wheat Pool, Beiseker. But after a little bit of Google searching, it appears that this is now owned by a private farm who actually owns a few different elevators. The thing that's most intriguing to me about these, the wooden part, is how they were built. And I have no idea how many million boards there would be, but the whole structure is made out of flat, stacked planks that are all nailed together. And as you can see with the ends of the boards that are tied to them, there must be inner structure or different places to hold grain, but the whole thing everywhere is made with that flat boards nailed together. You just stack them up and nail them like you would do Lego, except that it's all planks. How many million boards there would be, I would never guess. I did pause the video and then tried to count how many as you're looking at the ends, but I could never catch up. And you can see there's difference between like a 2x4, 2x6, or 2x10. I don't remember. I think these are 2x10 thickness on the bottom and then 2x6 up top, but a lot of stacked boards there. Near as I could tell from the internet research, this one here was probably built around 1927. And there's a discussion among all the internet experts about why the siding was taken off, probably to preserve it better, or that there was lead paint on the sides, but I can't answer that for the truth. I've been in one 50 years ago when I was a boy, but only just in the bottoms. I never have crawled or toured around one inside or anything else. And I certainly have never been on top of one. So I thought, well, today's the day to have a look at least at the grain legs or the elevator things or whatever there is on the top to see what it's like. It would be interesting to climb up there and see, but it's a little safer to look at it from the bird's eye view of the drone. So then I flew it back away from the drone away from the whole thing so I get a better picture. Everything now is steel grain bins instead of the wooden ones. And then I thought I'll fly it later when the view is better and the sunlight's better. And as I brought the drone back towards the community center where we're having a family reunion, there was another family gathering that had just happened to be walking by and had noticed that I was flying the drone. And they said, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I'm making a video for my YouTube channel. Can we be in it?" "Yeah, fill your boots." And so they all gathered together to do their little dance and to be in the video together. So I thought, well, I'll include this so that those viewers can see themselves and be famous on the internet. I didn't get the family name, so I can't guess on anyone's names there, but I thought, well, I'll fly it around and said, okay, gather in close so that you can be zoomed in enough so you can recognize yourselves. So that's what I did. I just zoomed in and everyone's like, okay. And some people could see it and some couldn't, but okay, well, now we're all gathered in as a group. We'll wave and dance for the drone. So So for those of you who are in the video and dancing for yourselves, now you can see yourself famous on the internet. And then when the sunlight was better and the sun had come around to the other side of the building, then I flew the drone back over there just so I could get a little better view of the wood. And it was it's amazing to me how much wood is in there. It must have been train loads and train loads of lumber, and how many men it would take to build one of these. It would be just astounding. And when they burned down, like the one that burned down in the town where I grew up in Grand Center, if they catch fire, which happened quite often because grain dust is quite explosive if it's dry, it can just burn or catch fire or explode. When they burned down, they took days and days to burn. Obviously would have been quite a tragedy for any community to lose the grain elevator, but this one here survived. Look, so if it were built in 1927, it's basically 100 years old, the structure at this point. When the steel parts were added, I can't say at all, but mostly it was just the opportunity to fly around and see a grain elevator up close. They are not something that everyone sees in all parts of the world, that's for sure. They were commonplace in my youth in Western Canada. Any small town would have one or two or three. There were Alberta Wheat Pool or Pioneer. I don't remember any of the rest of the names of the companies, but that was the view of this one. And I even got to accidentally practice some of my obstacle avoidance with the drone because there's a power line right down there that I flew in from the side to have a closer look, and the drone saw the line and zoomed up and around above it without striking and crashing my drone, which was lucky. But I don't know how many million bushels they hold or anything like that either. I guess if you're more curious, now that I've spiked your interest, you can do some internet research yourself and find out how much they hold. Or maybe I'll put it in the description, but that's the view of the grain elevator. It looks to me like maybe the building is sagged on the top above the window on that side, but it's hard to tell, and I'm not sure what the structure is on the very top there, if it's solid the same way or if it was built differently up top, because I think that's just a spot where all the grain falls to the different bins or storage areas. But nonetheless, you just got to visit Beiseker, Alberta, and see an old Alberta Wheat Pool grain elevator. Hope you enjoyed it.